Good morning. It's News Radio 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. It's 11 past 8 o'clock, and we are pleased as can be to have in studio the superintendent of Caddo Parish Schools, Dr. Lamar Goree. Welcome to our palatial estate, sir.
Well, thank you for having me. I decided to stop by and see if the coffee was as good as I hear it is.
You would mention that because I do have the first question, and as always, I start off with the heavy hitters.
Yeah, he's a biggie. So
when's the last time you went in to buy, like, liquor, beer, or wine that you didn't get carded?
Ha, ha, ha. That's funny. And what brings on that question?
You are remarkably youthful looking. And
he's sucking up.
I'm sure you get that all the time.
Well, you know, Erin has the big iPhone 6. I got the smaller one for us older people. So she's the young girl around here, though. But I tell you, I look younger than I am. But I do think I'm very fortunate to have this opportunity at the tender age of 43. So
wow.
I'm very excited about that.
You're halfway to 86?
Uh-oh.
Man, I got to get concerned.
I'd kill myself.
Okay.
I go ahead.
We gotta get right down to the nuts and bolts. We invited Dr. Goree here because of all the confusion and concern about Common Core and PARCC testing. And I know the school board passed a resolution last week or week before.
Right. We passed one resolution last week, and we passed a resolution a month prior to that one. Both of the resolutions that our board has adopted speak to the PARCC testing. Some absolute concerns with the implementation timeline of the PARCC testing, and our board certainly now has concerns, as does staff, with the opt-out options and how they could actually impact schools and school districts.
How many opt-outs do we have now, and do you expect those numbers to go up?
I don't have an exact count. We have not been flooded at this point. However, we do anticipate, as the word spreads, that we will see more students and families they are opting out. It's really nothing to take advantage of now because there really is no official opt-out policy that the state allows. So
when you say word spreads, what exactly does that mean? And I guess I'm referring to what Bessie member Jane Smith had told us, that she didn't feel like this is really even a real PARCC test. It was, to use Miss Jane's words, something that John White had sort of cobbled together. Do you feel that way? And what is your feeling about this test?
Well, I hadn't done enough research on the actual way, and I do understand a lot of things that are being said. Those are not my feelings, but I can't say I disagree either because I just don't know. I hadn't really researched enough about the way the test was developed, hadn't researched enough about the way that Pearson was or was not used in the process of developing the test.
Pearson's the company that put it together.
Those are the test folks.
Gotcha, thank you.
But what I will say is that if you look at law now, if a student chooses to do what we're calling opt-out, it will certainly have a very negative effect on not only the school the child attends, but our school district performance scores.
And the teacher as well.
And the teachers, because it can play into evaluations and things of that nature. So what we're hoping that will happen is that our Betsy board will call a meeting, will in some kind of way provide some level of support, some level of relief to families, schools, and school districts.
Why don't we just skip testing this year? What's wrong with that?
Man, well, that would be so easy, wouldn't it?
You just get a ton of zeros.
I tell you, that's a Betsy question, though, and that's exactly what we'd like to know. What are our options? And certainly one of the options on the table should be a moratorium on assessment. That's what our first what our first resolution spoke to, that we felt with implementation of the standards, Common Core standards, we certainly were not prepared to give a test, especially amidst all of the confusion that we've been dealing with Common Core and anti-Common Core sentiments.
When we had Mr. Ryle on earlier this week, he had said that it was his feeling that parents should let their kids take the test because the results don't come back till next year, hence nothing punitive for the child. I assume you feel the same way?
Well, and certainly Caddo has been very smart in our pupil progression plan, is that the test will not affect the child's ability to be promoted. We have removed anything dealing with state testing out of our pupil progression plan. Now, and that's one of the things the state did allow us to do this year. Local districts could determine how we would promote students. But the concern is that if you look at law and if you look at some of the situations that Caddo is currently dealing with the recovery school district, if our schools receive this score of F, if our school performance scores drop drastically because of students not taking the test, we're eligible for more takeovers, and we really do want the state to step in and provide relief where necessary.
Given the fact that there is nothing punitive, to use that word again, that could happen to the kids if they take the test and don't do well, is the whole opt-out movement, so to speak, is it just much ado about nothing?
I don't want to say that because people stand on values and people stand on principles. And I do believe these families are standing on principle. They don't feel they had an adequate voice in this situation.
Dr. Goree, if you have a magic wand, what do we do this spring in our schools?
If I had a magic wand in the spring, you would see the state come forward and provide relief for the families that choose to opt the students out, but at the same time, provide some supports to schools so that we too, like the students, the school and school districts are not penalized. You have schools, some A schools in our district, some that are ranked in the state. If we have as few as 10 students opt out of those schools, we could see those schools drop to C-graded schools.
News Radio 710 KEEL Caddo School Superintendent Dr. Lamar Goree. We get you one more segment. Thank you for sticking around.
My pleasure. The
Lots
coffee's
more
good.
Gary is a genius.
Yeah, yes.
More questions on the way. More